Hello, brothers of Alpha Kappa Psi. My name is Corey Reddy. I am the Regional Manager of Rituals and Conduct in the Atlantic Gulf Coast and Atlantic Metro regions, as well as President of the Greater Gator Alumni Chapter, and I am running for Fraternity President. When I look at what I wish to accomplish as Fraternity President, I've analyzed the fraternity's shortcomings and weaknesses and how we can overcome these obstacles to create a more rewarding experience for our brothers. Specifically, I looked at the fact that we have closed between 20 and 30 student chapters over the past 3 years, and going into the next academic year, we have several other chapters at risk of potentially joining that list. I've created action items surrounded on empowering students and alumni in order to make our fraternity stronger and to curtail the amount of closures that we've had. The first step would be revitalizing the Judiciary Committee. The Judiciary Committee is a group-on management team that is meant to protect and educate brothers and ensure the success of the fraternity. It has been absent in recent years, which means that we have one member on staff who handles every single conduct issue in AKSI. With the uptick of DEI and Title IX related issues that we've had, this prevents individualized coaching and is much more focused on resolution instead of the learning experience that could potentially come from that. Through the revitalization, I would split judiciary resources equally between proactivity and reactivity. Proactively, they would work with chapters directly to increase the knowledge base and understanding of AKSI procedures. These would be things like the Code of Conduct, the Bridge to Brotherhood Facilitator Guide, the Constitution, the Board of Directors Statement of Policy. Things like that are central to chapter operations and ensuring that chapters can operate at the best of their ability. This would be a consequence-free environment. Focus on developing trust and empowering chapters. I'm not interested in what happened a year ago. I'm not interested in getting chapters in trouble. I'm interested in building them up and making sure that they have the tools and everything that they need to ensure a successful future for them and their brothers. And then from a reactive standpoint, we can have those conversations every single day. I can bring it right to your doorstep and bring it right to your chapter. Something's going to fall through the cracks. Something's going to get by. It happens. But from a judiciary standpoint, I would like the Judiciary Committee to assist chapters from a reactive point of view once these things happen. So it would be working with students from a coaching perspective to understand what is the event, what happened, what could have been done, how can we grow stronger as a result of our time here. I want them to go out of that situation stronger than when they entered it, and whether that means a culture change, whether it means, helping them tweak things, whatever it might be to help our chapters grow, the Judiciary Committee would be responsible for handling that. The second step would be centered around forming an identity. At the present moment, there's quite a bit of anti-AKSI sentiment in the fraternity. And that doesn't come from the student chapters not liking themselves. It comes from the student chapters and the disconnect between them and the fraternity at large. This comes in the form of not knowing what dues pay for, what resources AKSI provides for students, the volunteer structure that they have to utilize. And this is a very frustrating and confusing experience for both students and volunteers. From that, the idea of forming an identity would be focusing on what we stand as a brotherhood, or what we stand for as a brotherhood. I'm not interested in wiping out the individual identities that every single chapter has, but right now we seem to be more of a cluster mentality instead of one united AKSI. And, from that perspective, we need to agree to come to a general consensus on who we are as well as what we want to achieve. That's why we're here at Chapter Congress. If you understand that every single chapter is held to the same standards and to the same accomplishments, you'll feel more connected with, the fraternity at large instead of just your group. And ultimately, once that brand is established, we can provide resources on an individual level to chapters, specifically those with recruitment and culture issues, to help them integrate themselves into their campus better and to help them grow as a collective to ensure a bright future for their chapter. In terms of my qualifications, I understand very early on that relationship building is a key element to success in AKSI as a volunteer. And through my time as a regional manager, I've developed strong relationships with the 26 chapters that I've worked for, and I will do everything in my power to ensure their success. I don't go into a chapter with the idea of giving them action items and walking away and not helping them with it, because ultimately they either won't get done or the chapters will resent me for doing them, and that won't develop them the way that they need to. I won Regional Manager of the Year in 2019 and 2020 for my work with these chapters to ensure that they have everything that they need to succeed. And prior to convention, as a candidate, I've reached out to every single chapter in AKSI, bringing it to your front door, and I've had a conversation with over 60 chapters about the state of our fraternity and how we can grow faster. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to entering this new chapter of AKSI with you. I have 3 concrete steps to make AKSI more inclusive. The first is that when this legislation passes, that we update fraternity documents to have more inclusive language. We should be doing this not because we are told to, but because it is the right thing to do, and I will make sure that it's done promptly. The second step is from a volunteer point of view, where as we have new volunteers on board into AKSI, that they go through fraternity-provided DEI level training so that they can integrate themselves into any chapter that they may see fit, and that this training is also included in certified fraternity volunteer examination materials so that if you want to achieve the highest level of volunteer status in the fraternity, you must be able to understand people from a background different than your own. The final step is from the student chapter perspective, that I encourage them to take in demographic information of the chapter that they currently have, compare it to demographic information of the campus as a collective, and find out where you over and under index, and find out which groups you aren't targeting as well, and change your recruitment strategy to align with that more. I work in marketing and advertising for Publicis, and we do this on a day-to-day basis to ensure that the right products go in front of the right eyes. You know your product, you know your fraternity, and when you know what audiences you hit more often than not, and the audiences you don't engage in as much, you can target those audiences better and understand how to get them into your chapter and become a more well-rounded organization. When it comes to engagement between student and alumni members, the biggest obstacle that I've seen is a lack of knowledge and a lack of communication. Knowledge in the form of not knowing what's available, not knowing what's out there, and communication, one side not opening up to the other about what they're looking for and what's expected on that end. So from an immediate point of view and a fraternity point of view, focus on better communicating to alumni what opportunities are available at the student level, maybe not even as a volunteer, but just in general how they can contribute. From a long-term point of view, I look at our current students as alumni of the future. And by increasing the overall value of the fraternity from a managerial point of view down to the chapter level, students will be more likely to contribute not just to their home chapter, but to the fraternity across the world, especially if they know explicitly what their efforts will go towards and how the fraternity will help their student chapters. You will see more positive results moving forward.
Hey brothers, today I wanted to share how we tackled unprecedented and unpredictable times these past couple of years and my plan to lead our members beyond this pandemic. Look, we may not be able to control the macroeconomics, but we can control how we support our members to take on the unknowns. Instead of waiting, I faced the pandemic head on because I was driven to ensure our brothers could navigate and succeed through this. From launching new technology to creating a Brotherhood Unbounded for all our members, to supporting our volunteers to regular monthly resources, to relooking at DEI as part of who we are as principal business leaders, AKSI has been able to elevate our members in many ways throughout my term and this pandemic. Despite planning for a budget deficit for the first time in years, I worked with AKSI to reduce our member dues to help offset some of the financial burden. And with plans to increase dues at this convention, I again worked with AKSI to hold off on the increase. Now we face a new challenge. As AKSI, how can we help our brothers be successful in this new environment? In my next term, my focus is on the Power of One idea, where we ensure our members' experience in leadership development is consistent across all of our chapters. Here are my 3 primary deliverables to you. As a student member, I want you to get the learning experiences that will help you break barriers today and after you graduate. As a chapter, I want you to have the resources to operate effectively and efficiently and have a volunteer support team that can coach and mentor you. As AKSI, I want us to ignite the next generation of Fortune 500 professionals, entrepreneurs, and tomorrow's leaders today even faster. That has always been my primary inspiration and motivation for you all. So how are we going to achieve this all? Well, the wheels are already in motion. Not only will we launch an inclusive leadership certificate, this is one of 4 new leadership-focused certificates being offered this fall. This is something that you will be able to highlight and to help you stand out to potential employers. Continuing my push on opportunities for all members, I want to host fraternity-wide resume workshops with our alumni, restart our brother mentorship program, and implement speed networking, which Heather and I piloted earlier this year. For chapters, we have to prioritize what to focus on and how to support each chapter because one size does not fit all. I've been working with AKSI on a customized support model to help similar chapters focus on 2 to 3 goals while connecting those chapters to share ideas. This also includes officer training boot camps to connect officers across the organization to share what they are doing. For AKSI, Heather and I have been piloting a new Brother Networks program idea that creates both virtual and local groups so that members can collaborate and network with similar interests such as inclusivity in the workplace, marketing, and startups. In addition, I presented a proposal to create a career site to highlight job-focused resources and provide an online job board exclusively for AKSI. When our chapters are connected, they can learn from each other on ways to better enhance their member experience. When our officers have the resources and training with their peers, they can excel in their role. When our volunteers are focused on a couple of things, they can better coach and mentor our members. And when we improve on a handful of things and not on everything, it'll create a bigger impact in the long run. That is the power of one. So why is it important? Because the future is limitless. When our chapters are excelling, we then can shift our focus on that future. Imagine getting a brother pin in the form of an NFT, paying dues with crypto, or meeting brothers in the metaverse. Imagine AKSI being a place to learn new trending skills. Imagine a brotherhood that is known for developing future CEOs. Imagine when employers see AKSI on their resume, it will be like TSA pre-check, meaning that candidate is good to go. That is my AKSI reimagined. The business world is changing and still figuring itself out, and I want AKSI to lead it because you all are the future generation of principal business leaders. I'm not looking to bring AKSI back pre-pandemic. I'm here to accelerate AKSI forward into the next generation, bring innovative ideas, and help AKSI become more adaptive so that we continue to lead in any environment. To see how I AKSI and elevate principal business leaders for you, follow me on the social networks. If you have any questions, please reach out. Thank you, and I look forward to seeing you in Miami. Cheers. To start, inclusivity can be broken into 2 parts, education and action. We have to understand that everyone doesn't have the same background or grew up in the same environment. So we must be open to different perspectives and voices, even if we don't agree. This is how I operate because that's where I believe will lead to better ideas and collaboration. So what are the plans? To help on the education side, in addition to the Inclusive Leadership Certificate being launched, we have been working on a DEI officer template so that our chapters can bring that role to the local level and raise awareness. Plus, with the Brother Networks concept, as mentioned earlier, we will be able to connect brothers to share different experiences. Taking action, I will continue to form several student task forces made up of members across the organization for their insights. I've done that when we wanted to get guidance on how we could help our members virtually, put together town halls to hear different perspectives in regards to individual DEI experiences, and at the PBLIs, I pushed for focus groups so that we can hear what you all wanted to see as the board of directors developed a new strategy for AKSI. On top of that, I'm looking to form a student leadership council made up of non-officers and a president's council to get feedback for upcoming fraternity programs. Collaboration and different perspectives at both student and fraternity levels is the main driver and key to our success. Fostering relationships between our members means that we have to provide several outlets to connect on, and this is an indirect result of my plan for the next term. Student and alumni relationships are formed through coaching and mentorship, education, and networking. So how can we achieve this as AKSI? On the coaching mentorship side, a lot of the relationships can be formed through volunteering, as it is today, and new ones can be formed by the Brother Mentorship Program I'm looking to restart. Regarding volunteering, time commitment has always been a roadblock. So we have to reduce the time commitment and responsibilities for all our volunteer roles so that we can attract more alumni to give back to our student members. In addition, by asking and collecting feedback from our members on topics they would be interested at conferences and events, we would be able to connect speakers and topics with our members, which will help develop them personally and widen their networks. And speaking of, to utilize our global network, I'm looking to roll out the Brother Networks idea that Heather and I have been piloting so that anyone can connect virtually or locally with AKSI. Relationships are critical in the professional world, so AKSI must provide different opportunities. But as with all relationship, it is a two-way street. Our members must want to build it, and we must provide outlets that our members want to participate in.
Hello, brothers. I appreciate the opportunity to discuss my platform as I'm running to become your next fraternity president. But before we get into that, I want to ask you a question. Have you ever thought about where you would be without the fraternity? This is a question I've asked myself quite a few times, and the answer has always come up the same. I don't know. I am better off because of the fraternity. The lessons I have learned, the skills I have gained, the network that has grown, and the experiences that I continue to have. It's something I can't even put words to. But because of that, I'm a better person, and it's all Alpha Kappa Psi's fault. And I'm so proud to say that. So with that said, I have several promises to make for my campaign. First off, if elected, I am going to work tirelessly to strengthen the brotherhood. I want to make sure the brotherhood is as strong as possible. During the pandemic, we became more transactional, which a lot of organizations and a lot of companies have done the same thing because the pandemic made that happen. But guess what? We're not most companies. Our brotherhood bond is our X factor. It's our strength, and we need to make sure that the brotherhood doesn't fall victim to this transactional change in the world. And that's something we're going to do. Any decision going forward, the first, second, and last, and middle question, every question, how's it impacting the brotherhood? Because if it's not a positive impact on the brotherhood, and if it's not continuing the brotherhood bonds and relationships that we've grown to love, we don't need it. Because that's what makes us, is our brotherhood. Next up is I want to increase the fraternity's transparency. Very important to do that. In the past, because we are a large organization, things slip through the cracks. You might not be aware of certain things going on. Well, if elected president, I will do a monthly social media live video that gives you the opportunity to know what we're currently working on this month and answer questions, ask questions, hold me accountable, because this is your fraternity, not mine. We are all in this together. We are all equal parts. So you have the right to have just as much of a say as anyone. Then my next promise is I want to increase student and alumni input. I would do this through different committees to really make sure we are moving things forward. But the problem is I've seen committees in the past. What I don't like about them is I don't think it's a good cross-section of the brotherhood. You have different levels of volunteers. You have different leaders from local student chapters and alumni chapters. Well, guess what? I want to make sure that we put on there the person that hasn't held a position yet. What about the person that's not a traditional student? Get these different viewpoints. One of our strengths is the fraternity's diversity, and that's something we need to make sure that we utilize, because we are going to have different backgrounds and different views based off our life experiences, and we need to use that to our advantage. That's what makes us number one. That's what's going to actually make us change the world. Now, last but definitely not least, I will not be seeking a second term. It's not going to happen. But what I will do in the next 2 years is make sure that we grow leaders that can run for president and continue moving us forward, because we need to continue moving forward. Now, I haven't seen too many presidents come through in my nearly 20 years in this organization. And that's a problem, because we're not having a changing of ideas, and we need to do that. That's what's going to keep us fresh and strong. So I will not be seeking a second term, but I will develop leaders. And if you're curious if I can do that, as a regional director, I've had 3 of my volunteers become regional directors. So the answer is yes. I've done it before. Now, with my experience and passion, I know that we're going to have a stronger brotherhood. I know that we're going to have a brotherhood that's going to impact everyone's lives. And I know that we're going to have a brotherhood that's going to make future generations of brothers proud to be part of Alpha Kappa Psi. So please vote Tim Weigel at Convention, Miami 2022. I have a 3-step plan to improve the inclusivity of the fraternity. Step 1 is education. We need to have online and in-person trainings to improve the inclusivity. It needs to talk about what is inclusivity, how it differs, and then go even a little further into how your organization can run as more inclusive organization. Now, part 2 of my plan will be an anonymous Dropbox, something to where if you have a complaint or see something that makes us not inclusive, you can share. You can report it. We can look into it so that we can correct it if we see anything or find anything out of the ordinary, both at the local chapter level and the fraternity level. And then part 3 would be simply highlighting our members, highlighting where they come from and their successes. Have members volunteer for this spotlight. Because if we do this, what you're doing is we're sharing stories. And when you share stories with our brothers, we all come out better. We all learn from it. My strategy to foster relationships between students and alumni is kind of like a Field of Dreams philosophy. If you build it, they will come. And what I simply mean by that is we have a lot of successful alumni out there. If we geared our organization to support their businesses or their endeavors or spotlight them more, then it's going to help them want to give back more to our fraternity. For example, what if we had a section on the website so that we could find alumni in a certain city and see what's going on there? And we'll take New Chi, my home chapter, for example. In the Orlando area, we have several realtors. We also have someone that can lend in the state of Florida from the New Chi chapter. We also have someone that owns an accounting firm. We have someone that owns a bookkeeping firm. We have someone else that owns 4 restaurants in the Orlando area. And we even have a student with the New Chi chapter that actually started their own business doing brunches. So we promote that on a website. Students that come into the area or even the local students will have an outlet to see some of their successful alumni and support their businesses and their endeavors and their adventures. And guess what? The alumni is going to want to give back to that chapter.
Greetings to all of my brothers of Alpha Kappa Psi. I am Deshaun Keys, a fall 2013 initiate of the Zeta Psi chapter, seated at Middle Tennessee State University, life loyal member, Silver DSA recipient, alumni chapter president, and fraternity volunteer since 2017. And I am seeking your vote for executive vice president of our great fraternity. We will all make the journey to Miami for a reason. And while I would like to think that for some of you, it is to cast a ballot for me, I realize that it's because you believe in what this great fraternity can be. In the pandemic, you have been resilient. In the face of decisions on your campuses and within the fraternity that did not account for your voice, that's told you to settle with what's been given to you, a system that has divided us for far too long. It is time for us to move AK Psi forward, together, and this is how I plan to do it with you all. Fraternity operations. As EVP, I will take time to review the operations of the fraternity to allow them to work for us. How often have we transitioned officers and the new officer is left with ACR, chapter success plan, or bridge to brotherhood reports that are not due until the summer or winter break? As a student affairs professional, I understand academic calendars and the requirements universities place on organizations. I am proposing earlier deadlines with updated pieces of training on how to complete them in time. Resources. As a new brother, I vividly remember having an AK Psi discount card that I proudly kept in my wallet. As your EVP, I will actively work with our board to gain new partnerships that benefit the members of our fraternity. Partnerships that give our brothers access to discounts for travel, insurance, professional development, and attire for those events. Resources that can decrease the funds required for students to attend fraternity events in order to become refined, principled business leaders. Wellness. This is a two-part area of concern for me. In the current climate, where mental health issues have increased, I will push for our brothers to receive content that caters to building stronger mental health in and out of the workplace. Also, I would like to propose better measurement tools for chapter success. Chapters should be measured by their size and capability versus a cookie-cutter approach that does not give all chapters the chance to thrive. Alumni. It is our time to re-engage our alumni networks and to show them that the same fraternity that they pledged and promised to make them principled business leaders is the same fraternity that will continue to help them grow as they begin their startups, attend graduate school, start families, or discover the next chapter in their development. For years, the Executive Vice President has acted as the voice for alumni, but there is no real structure. The time is now to correct this mistake and to build a larger and better alumni network. Retention. With having rush each semester, we have not put as much time into seeing why our brothers do not stay active. I would propose a task force of students to assist us with deliberating on the wisest and best methods for retaining our brothers. Diversity. Our fraternity has come a long way from its initial requirements of membership. The other candidate and I for Executive Vice President prove that now. And as we continue to move forward, our trainings, marketing, and events should reflect the brothers that are here. Diversity is much more than the color of our skin, religion, or gender. We need to showcase and embrace our differences to create a stronger brotherhood that could change business forever. I stand here today just as engaged as I was when I discovered what AK Psi was as a senior in high school, and just as passionate about the determination of our brotherhood, the vision for a better tomorrow than we have ever seen before. Brothers, can you see the future of AK Psi with me? Can you dream with me? Because I can't do this alone. Although I am running for Executive Vice President, this is our fraternity, and it is time that we move AK Psi forward and further than it has ever been before. My platform as a candidate for Executive Vice President is moving AK Psi forward. Forward stands for fraternity operations, resources, wellness, alumni, retention, and diversity. To allow AK Psi to become more inclusive, this means that I will need to directly work with the Inclusivity, Equality, and Diversity Task Force to ensure that our brothers are receiving content that promotes inclusivity amongst brothers, that we have the networking possibilities at fraternity events, as well as to look into any affinity groups within the fraternity that can push inclusivity to our forefront. When considering strategies We're fostering better relationships between student and alumni brothers. My immediate goals are to give student brothers access to task force, to allow them to work with the alumni brothers to create the wisest and best methods for our fraternity to move forward. I will also be working directly with the alumni to create a structure that gives them the opportunity to network and encourage more networking events at fraternity events for alumni and student brothers.
Hey brothers, my name is Heather Robinette and I'm from the Alpha Omega chapter at Kansas State University. Professionally, I lead a global revenue operations team for a construction tech company based out of the UK called A-Site. I've been a volunteer with Alpha Kappa Psi for the past 8 years, and I've had the opportunity to work in multiple regions with numerous chapters in nearly every volunteer role. I've also helped start and restart 2 alumni chapters. For the past year, I've served as the fraternity executive vice president. And I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for the many experiences I've had with students, alumni, and volunteers. You are the reason I am seeking to be elected for another term as the fraternity executive vice president. Over the past year, I've been able to work with President Thomas Tran, the management team, the fraternity staff, and countless volunteers on several initiatives, many of which we've made progress on, but I hope to continue that progress over the next 2 years. One example is through a volunteer recruitment campaign I led, where we focused on filling chapter advisor roles. We were able to fill nearly all open positions during that time by connecting and re-engaging with alumni. A year ago, we had over 60 positions. Those positions are helping to support your chapters on a day-to-day operations basis, and also helping to make sure you have someone you can reach out to when you need help. This is an ongoing effort, so if your chapter doesn't have a chapter advisor right now, the goal is to find someone for your chapter. Another example of an initiative in the past few months, I was able to work with a few alumni groups to pilot the idea of local brother networking groups to start connecting more brothers in local cities. Because of this, I've had the chance to meet several UCF brothers now living in Dallas and get the chance to connect with many upcoming grads and local alumni from UNT. Our goal is to begin rolling this out to more cities within the next few months and make this available fraternity-wide. I'm incredibly proud of what we've accomplished over this past year. Here are 3 things that I want to accomplish if elected and given the opportunity to serve 2 more years. First, I want to continue to expand the local brother networking groups to more cities to help connect AKSI brothers. Wouldn't it be great to meet alumni before you graduate or when you first get to a new city? I recently met an alumnus who graduated and moved to Dallas last year from Chicago. But what connected us was a LinkedIn post I wrote about being laid off and resources people can use to help them find their next role. In 2021, I was laid off from a tech startup after 60 days. I leveraged those resources to find my next role within 2 months. He was a part of the recent tech layoffs. Within about 30 days, he was able to find a new role. I also was able to connect him with someone in Dallas in the same career field and same industry who can help serve as a mentor for him moving forward. While LinkedIn can be a powerful tool, I want to help you build a network so you have one before you need one. Next, I want to amplify the programs that exist today, such as the Sponsor Student Program, to help chapters pay for educational programs. President's Academy, Fraternity Advisors Conference, and the Academy are all great examples of programs that are funded. We also have a few schools who are benefiting from the chapter's designated fund that help pay for costs to convention and PBLI. But I want to work with the foundation and your chapters to help ensure you are taking advantage of all the programs available so more educational expenses are covered. My goal is to get 100% chapter participation in the Sponsor a Student Program. With this program, you are able to connect with your alumni and find more ways to engage or re-engage with them. Lastly, I want to continue to focus on volunteer recruitment as an ongoing initiative to help support your chapters, which means every chapter should have a chapter advisor. My goal is to connect and re-engage alumni from diverse backgrounds to bring even more experience to the role. While having a chapter advisor means you'll have someone who can be there to support you day to day, it also means your chapter can work towards mastering the operational side of things in order to start focusing on what matters for your chapter to thrive. As a part of the initiative, I also want to create a brother experience for each of you that shows you the benefits of volunteering. Even if you don't volunteer at first after graduation, I'd love to see each of you volunteer in your own way. My name is Heather Robinette, and I would like to ask for your vote for Fraternity Executive Vice President to help continue connecting AK Psi. Thank you. Over the past year, I believe we've made progress in making Alpha Kappa Psi more inclusive. A few ways include the My AK Psi courses that were created and President Thomas Tran bringing on a fraternity manager dedicated to DE&I. There isn't a linear path, nor is there a finish line, but we can continue working towards becoming a more inclusive fraternity by providing more educational opportunities open to all brothers, focusing on recruiting diverse volunteers to support chapters, and taking time to listen to our members. When it comes to fostering relationships between students and alumni, my goal to get 100% participation in the sponsor student program goes hand in hand with this. As part of the program, you are able to share an opportunity with your alumni to easily give back to the chapter. This can also help you jumpstart alumni re-engagement if you haven't been in contact with them for a while. I've had many conversations with alumni who want to give back, especially to their chapter. They just don't know how to. I believe the sponsor student program would not only benefit your chapters financially, but also help you reach more alumni. Additionally, I believe as the local brother networks grow, chapters will find more opportunities to connect and foster relationships with local alumni, which will help expand your network outside your chapter.